So a couple weeks ago, I talked about Trump threatening Chicago with federal troops and how they decided to not do that after J.B. Pritzker pushed back just the slightest bit. And while that is true, they decided not to send federal troops to Chicago to police the city for crime. They did decide to do an ICE operation. And a real shame in this is that people are like calling the win, saying that JB like successfully was able to push back on Trump's aggression, and that's only half true. So there was no federal troop deployment, but we have a specific ICE operation happening in the city, and it is wildly violent and reflective of a pretty like deep wound in society at this moment. And so I wanted to read a little bit about this operation. This article existed when we did our last video, but it was a little bit off subject, but we're going to talk about this real quick, and then we're going to come back to what happened since then. So the Department of Homeland Security launched Operation Midway Blitz on Monday to start detaining illegal immigrants in Chicago and Illinois after Governor J.B. Pritzker repeatedly refused to cooperate with the Trump administration's crime crackdown. DHS announced the operation on social media, revealing it was in honor of Katie Abraham, 20, who died in a hit-and-run car crash caused by a Guatemalan national illegally residing in the United States. This ICE operation will target the criminal illegal aliens who flocked to Chicago and Illinois because they knew Governor Pritzker and his sanctuary policies would protect them and allow them to roam free on American streets. And that's like, this language is nuts. It's insane. And look, this video where they interview the parents, we're not going to watch all of that, but we're going to read these quotes. For years, Governor Pritzker and his fellow sanctuary politicians released Trinidad Aragua gang members, rapists, kidnappers, and drug traffickers on Chicago's streets, putting American lives at risk and making Chicago a magnet for criminals, Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement. President Trump and Secretary Noem have a clear message. No city is a safe haven for criminal illegal aliens. If you come to our country illegally and break our laws, we will hunt you down, arrest you, deport you, and you will never return. And this was considered such extremist rhetoric 10 years ago. And it is just wild that this is where we are now. I mean, just the fact that criminal illegal aliens is the term that the government uses now is just such a departure from where we were in the mid-2000s. And of course, we were bad before that, but it sucks to see that we might have hit our zenith and now we're going down. So the announcement featured an interview with Abraham's parents, both of whom denounced illegal immigration based on their personal experience. Abraham died in January when Julio Cacul hit her with his vehicle and fled. The father said his daughter's killer shouldn't have been admitted in the U.S. in the first place. To me, these are not the productive folks we want to bring into the country, Joe Abraham said. You want to build the country on migrants? Probably not the guy you want to stand behind. And this is just racism. This is just racist rhetoric. Statistically, illegal immigrants commit less crime than native-born citizens. So it just doesn't make any sense to be like, we shouldn't let them in because they commit crimes. Because at that point, you create a situation where not only are they extra criminalized, but we can start looking at normal citizens who commit crime at a higher rate as less than for committing crimes, as undeserving of due process because they've committed a crime. It will extend from the immigrants to citizens eventually. And it's already has, like, people are getting hurt. There was a car wash owner in California who was like pushed to the side and his elbow was popped out of his arm because of that. U.S. citizen. So they're being completely fucking violent and they're targeting anybody who's brown in an environment like where they get reported. So when you report someone to ICE, you don't have to know any of this shit about them. You just say it, and then they go and figure stuff out. And it's fucking terrible. But there's this other quote too. They pushed back against claims that the Trump administration is not giving illegal immigrants due process, saying their daughter did not get that right. Why do these people who break these laws, who are not U.S. citizens, deserve due process? Asked Michelle Abraham, the mother. Because again, Katie got nothing. She got death. But the problem with that is that this girl was killed by a criminal. We don't want our government to operate in the same way as criminals, killing people without due process. Due process is a function of government. It's not a function of people walking down the street. I don't owe my neighbor due process because that isn't something that like I'm capable of offering. It isn't a dynamic between citizens. So they went into Chicago, and they've been incredibly violent, and there are videos coming out of protesters who are at the ICE facility, protesters at a certain ICE facility. There are a bunch of videos coming out of people protesting there, and I've seen a couple videos that are pretty shocking. First, there's a video of a pastor being shot in the head with a pepperball. Which you're not even supposed to shoot people with those. Those are supposed to hit the ground. And same with rubber bullets. Usually there are different types of rubber bullets, but they're usually meant to bounce off the ground and hit people. But these pigs, they shoot people directly with them, and they don't care if they kill people. And this is, again, this pastor was an American citizen who was shot in the head, a white blonde guy even. Like this will extend to you. Even Kat Abu Ghazaleh, who used to be a journalist and is currently a candidate for to be a representative for Chicago, and thrown to the ground by ICE officers. So they don't care if they're hurting people, and they're attacking people who obviously can't hurt them. Kat Abu Ghazaleh is a great person, but she's a tiny lady. You shouldn't be scared of someone like that in full riot gear. It's ridiculous. And not only that, but this situation extended to a killing. Who knows if they've killed more people than this, but so far they've killed one man in front of a school. And I want to read a little bit from the article about that. And this is what it says. A U.S. Congresswoman from Illinois and local officials in and around Chicago are calling for an investigation into the traffic stop initiated by Immigrant and Customs Enforcement ICE agents that resulted in the shooting death of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez on Friday. A joint statement whose signatories included Democratic U.S. House member Delia Ramirez and Villegas Gonzalez's killing in... A joint statement whose signatories included Democratic U.S. House member Delia Ramirez and said Villegas Gonzalez's killing in the Chicago suburb of Franklin Park illustrated the inevitable violence resulting from the deportation campaign mounted by Donald Trump's administration during his second presidency. The statement also said that community members were outraged at the violent spectacle that killed Villegas Gonzalez near a school at the time when parents were dropping their children off. What happened is not an isolated incident. It is the consequence of Trump's anti-immigrant agenda, the statement said in part. The Trump department accused Villegas. The Trump-led Department of Homeland Security accused Villegas Gonzalez of having resisted arrest, attempted to flee, and dragged an ICE officer a significant distance with his car at the time of his killing. One surveillance video of the incident uploaded to social media shows Villegas Gonzalez backing up, then driving forward with at least one officer pulling on his door. Another video shows agents trying to get into Villegas Gonzalez's car by pulling on a door handle until it crashed into a truck. The agents eventually break the glass and unlock the car from the inside. One of the agents pull Villegas Gonzalez's body several feet away from the car before laying it on the ground. That agent and another both kneel next to his dead body. So here's Villegas Gonzalez's death comes as ICE has ramped up operations in Chicago and the city's suburbs in what agencies dubbed Operation Midway Blitz. I already said all this. So ICE on Friday detained another man, William Alberto Jimenez Gonzalez, who was in a barbershop at the time of his arrest. The local advocacy group Latino Union of Chicago released a statement expressing concern that Jimenez may have been targeted because of his involvement with a lawsuit against the retail chain Home Depot and off-duty Chicago police officers. A 2024 investigation by the local news outlet and journalism lab City Bureau had found that recently arrived immigrants were being physically assaulted and detained by Home Depot store employees and off-duty officers, which is so within imagination but still disgusting. And this is the kind of shit that immigrants go through. They're treated like not lower class citizens, but they're treated like a lower caste of people. Like some type of servant class in America. At least serfs got land. ICE was previously sued in 2018 by Illinois Advocacy Group, and this part is just crazy. Groups and people who were detained by the agency after it conducted warrantless traffic stops on people in the state. The two sides reached a settlement in 2022 that required the agency to develop a nationwide policy on arrests without warrants and traffic stops. The settlement included certain conditions, including immediate release if ICE arrested someone without a warrant. The settlement terms were valid through May 13th, 2025. These people are just completely unbound by the law at this point. They're abusing protesters. They are killing people in public. Completely unnecessary. If they have this guy's identity, they can find his address. They can arrest him. I mean, I have the same problem when cops do like high-speed chases, but this is even worse because ostensibly they know who this immigrant is and they're conducting some type of arrest on him intentionally, and they're not just finding random Latinos. Hopefully that's not what's happening.